Ladies and gentlemen, it's previous tutor again. Welcome to another lesson. As we dive deeper into the matter of chemistry, we are going to look at the kinetic theory of matter. And before I go anywhere, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't, and make sure that you share this video. And also follow me on TikTok as well as on Facebook. We are very much available for online classes for both GCE and G12. Feel free because we produce the best and we are the best. Now, getting back to what we are looking at, we are talking about the kinetic theory of matter, which I know, it's not something new. It's something that you know you've heard of, and some of you've learned it. Now, the kinetic theory of matter is a theory that helps us, which helps to explain the way in which matter behaves. All right. So this one, it explains the way, all right, in which matter behaves. That is what the kinetic theory of matter is about. In case you see it as something strange, no, it's just a theory which explains how matter behaves. All right. Now, when you talk of matter, I think something should click in your mind, and that is the particles. Now, this theory, it also explains this matter around the idea of that matter is made up of tiny particles. All right. So, this theory, all right, says that matter is made up of tiny particles. These particles are what we call ions, atoms, and molecules. With the tiniest of all being the one we know this, the atom, the smallest particle of an element. Nevertheless, even ions, they are tiny particles. Even molecules are also tiny particles. But among these three, the atom is the tiniest particle. All right? And I hope we are there. This theory, it also explains the physical properties of matter. It also explains the physical properties of matter. Now, the theory can only explain this physical property of matter in terms of movement. Now, not in terms of movement of the whole matter, but in terms of the particles that make up that matter. All right. So it explains this in terms of the particles that make up what? Matter. What points do we get from the kinetic theory of matter? So let's look at the main points in the theory of matter. So the main points. So if someone asks you what's the kinetic theory of matter, or what does it try to talk about, these are the 3 points which it try to talk about. Now let's branch these 3 points into just many points. Okay, many points of the theory. So let's look at the main points of the theory. Number 1, the first main point of the theory is that all matter is made up of tiny particles. All right, and these particles are able to move together, right? They're able to do what? To move, but well, you can't see with your naked eyes. All right, so it says all matter the first point that is all matter is made up of tiny, all right, and moving particles. These particles, we have already talked about them, the ions, atoms, and molecules. In case they ask you the particles, the basic, in other books are going to find the basic elements of matter. These are the three. Number two, another main point is that the particles, they move all the time. The particles move all the time. These particles, they move all the time. Now, well, because of the kinetic thing attached to this means it has to do something with movement and temperature as well as velocity. So what are we trying to say here? We're saying the higher the temperature, the faster they move on average, right? So the higher the temperature, for example, all right, the faster they move. Okay, another one is another point under the kinetic theory of matter is that heavier particles, they move slowly as compared to the lighter ones. All right, so heavier particles, they move slowly as compared to the lighter ones. At a given, let's just say, well, because this movement is affected by temperature, so yeah, let's just say at a given temperature. Okay, that is all right. Now, the kinetic theory, all right, can also be used as a model to explain how the arrangement of particles, it is related to the properties of the three states of matter. What am I trying to say? We know that there are three states of matter normally, right? Solid, liquid, and gas. Now, the kinetic theory can help us explain the arrangement of the particles in these three states of matter. Are we together, right? Let's do that. So the three states of matter that we are going to explain. The first one is the solid. Okay, let's branch this. What is this? So we're saying in this solid, we are using, remember we are using the kinetic theory of matter to explain how the particles are arranged in all these three states of matter. So here in a solid, the particles attract one another. So here the first thing is that particles, they attract one another. Number two, there are attractive forces, all right, between the particles. Between the particles. Now these forces are the one that hold the particles together. Because of this, the particles have little freedom of movement. That means, hence, they just vibrate about a fixed position. Okay. So someone can ask you, why is it that the particles in solids, they are only able to vibrate about a fixed position? This is the reason. The particles have little freedom of movement. Simple, right? What else can you talk about a solid? The particles in a solid. Remember that we are explaining the arrangement of particles, because that's what the kinetic theory can explain. I think I mentioned in my previous words. I said the kinetic theory can be used to explain how the arrangement of particles in three states of matter is related to those same states of matter. All right, is related to the properties exhibited by those properties of matter, states of matter rather. So the particles are arranged in what? In a regular manner. In a what? In a regular what? Manner. The particles are in a regular. Right. Now, this is why solids, they are able to form crystals. So I can just say this is why solids are able to form crystals. So we've talked about solids there. So the particles, they are quite closer to one another with no freedom of movement. With little freedom of movement. Well, in a liquid, on the other hand, let's go on the liquid. Let's talk about the liquid. The liquid. Now, in a liquid, the particles are still closer together, but they have more freedom to move. All right. In a solid, they have little freedom, but here the particles are close together. All right. But they have more freedom to move. More freedom what to move. More freedom. I haven't written freedom. More freedom to move. They have more freedom to do what? To move, but they move in a random what? Way. In a random way. What else can we talk about? Yes. The particles, they collide with one another, of course, which is true. They collide with one another. So because they're able to move like that, that means they are able to collide with what? With each other. Forces of attraction are weaker than those in solid. Than those in solids. Okay, so they are in a disorderly. Let's talk about the arrangement. The particles are arranged in a disorderly manner. That means the particles, well, one can be there, one can be there, another one can be there, another one can be there, another one there, another one here, another one like that. A little bit of spaces, in them, like one there, one there, one there, and of course they show some forces like that, and so on and so on, because they're a little bit there, like they are spaces quite larger than those in solids. Okay. Then the last one, but not the least, it's gas. Well, in a gas, the particles are relatively far apart. So here, the particles are relatively far apart. They are far apart. All right. That means they move freely. They move freely. When I say they, I mean the particles. All right. They move what? Freely, anywhere. Hence, they can occupy any container. All right. Well, this also applies to liquids. Yeah. Well, they also collide with one another. They collide with one another. They, like again, they are the particles. All right. Now, the forces of attraction, they are quite weak. So, forces of attraction are very weak as compared to liquids, for example. All right. So these guys, they are really far apart. So one can be there moving in that direction, and the other one can be there moving in that direction. Another one can be here moving in that direction. Another one can be there moving in that direction. These are the two particles. This is how they are. They are quite far away from each other. So ladies and gentlemen, we've just explained the kinetic theory. Whenever you hear the word kinetic theory, these are the things that you should come to your mind. The states of matter. Can you explain the kinetic theory and the states of matter? How does the kinetic theory explain the three states of matter and the arrangement of particles in relation to the properties depicted by these states of matter? That's what the theory is trying to explain here. How come a solid is like this, and how come a liquid is like this, and how come a gas is like this? The kinetic theory will explain all those properties of those states of matter in terms of the arrangement of particles. And I think we've done here. And if you find the video helpful, share, subscribe, and you can start your online classes. It's your best tutor, Patson Victor Skazwe. For those who don't know me, that's what PVS means.